Hey friends, I just wanted to give you a little test taking tip video for all of you, especially your non-traditional students out there, because tests are hard and your brain has to be ready. And sometimes our brains feel like they're old and they can't do it, but that's not true. We got this. I'm wearing my glasses today. They're actually for distance, but I do wear them in school because the PowerPoint is far, far away. And I have to be able to see it, and I feel smart. So when I take my tests, I want to feel smart. So we'll talk in a minute about dressing for the part, but I do want to just mention that. So before you even get to test day, though, you're going to have to study, obviously. So let's do some easy math. If you had 5 hours to study for a test, would it be better to study 5 hours the night before or to do 5 1-hour sessions through the week before? Ding, 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 the week before, 5 hours at a time. I'm sorry, 1 hour, 5 1-hour sessions would be best. Your brain needs time to capture all that information and to save it long term, which is what you want to do, actually, because you want to use this information for other things besides your test Friday or whatever it is. So break it up. It will be better for your brain. You'll remember it longer. It won't feel as stressful. It'll feel more doable. Even on an emotional level, it will just feel better. Also, if you can find a study buddy, this was huge for me. So my study buddy and I learn differently. She is a verbal processor. So she gets that information in her mind and she explains it to me. And I love it because she has learned that I like corny jokes and I like funny stories, or if she does something funny with her hands or her face, I will learn that information so much better. So she's kind enough to do that for me. And then I like to draw. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I would love to do a video on that sometime about how to learn. If you're like me and you have to go the long way around it, it's fine. But I show her my videos or my drawings and we kind of talk through information. We quiz each other, we talk through it, and it works really well. I think our best study sessions are usually the morning before a test or the day before a test, so we still have a little bit more time to work on it, but we've had enough time to kind of study on our own where it's finally starting to make sense and we can kind of finish studying together, if you will. Also, I want to say a couple tips on lectures. So our teachers tend to do a lot of PowerPoints, and I've learned a couple tricks. So one is to use your highlight button. So if the PowerPoint comes through, you should download it on your computer, take your computer to class, download it, and then it should say enable editing. And so I hit that button, it's usually at the top, and I will start to kind of like edit their PowerPoints, which in my case, I like the highlight button. So I just do yellow highlighter. So if they talk about something in particular, I will highlight whatever they say. And then if there are extra things, or if I need to put something in my own words, at the bottom of the screen, it will say additional notes or add notes. And I just start typing in there any extra information. So as I'm studying for their tests, I will save that, make sure to save it, and then I will go through those PowerPoints again and look at those highlighted things and look at the notes. That's kind of where I focus my energy and time as I study for their tests. So, and if they mention it a couple, 3 times, it's likely to be on the test. Also, you're not going to want me to say this, but I'm going to say it because it does help me. You got to study the hardest on your weakest points. So it might feel fun to have flashcards. I like flashcards too. But I start putting them in stacks, like know it, don't 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 know it, know it, and so I'm dividing my stacks. And then if you've got the I got this, no problem, put those to the side. Those are your fun cards. Oh, okay, well, you got that information, but now you're going to have to switch to the harder ones and you're going to have to dig through and learn that information and then just keep going and then go through the stack again. Got it. Nope. And then you're going to eventually whittle your way down to the hardest ones. And that's going to need most of your attention will need to be focused on those. Also in a couple practical tips here, get a good night's sleep the night before as best you can. Try to go to bed early. Make yourself some chamomile tea, lavender lotion or a bath or whatever it takes, but get your brain to go to bed early. Try to turn the screens off, like a half an hour before bed, and get a really good night's sleep. And then in the morning, dress up. I wear like business clothes because this is business. You got to get to business, and you got to get your good grades because you worked really hard for this. It costs money. It's a sacrifice of time. You see your kids a little less or a lot less because you're in school so much, and it's important. So you would dress up for something important, and your test is important. And football players wear their uniforms when they play football, so they know what it means to get your game face on, right? So you're going to get your game face on, and you're going to do a good job on your test. I think it just mentally puts me in the right place. And then I also like to pop in a little piece of minty gum right before my test. I feel like it brightens my senses up, and I'm ready, like awake. Okay, I got this. Game on, let's go. And so my mouth feels ready to handle the challenge. Okay. So then during the test, okay, I'm just going to say it because you're probably going to think I'm really weird here, but like nowadays with COVID, we wear masks in the class, right? And so under my mask, I'm reading the question. I'm kind of mumbling to myself, and I'm trying to not make too much noise, but I'm really whispering under my mask. So anyway, I do that, or I count with my fingers, or I like we have a cardiac test for nursing school. I might be like, okay, so the ventricle squeeze. So I catch myself doing these funny little things during the test, but that's how I learned the information. So I suppose that makes sense of how I'm going to get that information back, if that makes sense. Also, at the very beginning of your test, I should have said this before, take a deep breath. So a lot of our tests these days are online on a screen. Sometimes you have to show your ID and smile, or they ID you in some way. If you're at home taking tests online, once you get through that, you see your first question pop up, and you just take a big breath, and you can close your eyes if you want, and maybe say a little prayer, and just prepare yourself. Like you're gonna do fine, but just don't go in it in a rush. So just easy does it. You're gonna be fine. Also, you want to read every word of every question, because one little word can change the whole meaning of the question. So for example, if it says, what are all the correct answers except for one, or which one is not right, then that changes your answer. If you rush through it and you didn't read the not or the except, then it can change everything. If it says select all that apply, or select one that applies, that changes everything too. Obviously, true or false, that's pretty straight up, but look for those, look for every word of the question. And then you also want to look at some of the best test takers I know are the ones that will say, I was just looking for the key words. Like they kind of know what the professor was going to ask. They just look for the key words. I mean, that's kind of too fast for me. I want to make sure that I'm reading everything thoroughly, but I do look for those keywords. If you're learning definitions, I don't feel like you have to memorize verbatim every word of every definition if you just think about keywords in that definition. So maybe like 4 or 5 keywords that relate to that topic. Do that. That's a much more efficient way to study for a test. Go at your pace. Some people are fast, some are slow. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm fine with that. I don't want to be in a rush. I also don't necessarily want to be stressed out, like rereading and second guessing all my answers. So I'm just going to kind of go at my pace, whatever your pace is, totally fine. Look for context clues within the test questions. So for example, my son has asthma, and we had a test about asthma. And so there I am sitting there thinking about my test with my eyes closed, and I'm thinking about my son, and I'm thinking, what did that doctor say? Did he say to put him in a cold air, or to put him in a warm shower? And I was trying to remember from life experience. It does help. It comes in handy. So don't discount that. Use that to your advantage. If you can narrow down your answers, that is helpful. So maybe it's multiple choice. You've got A, B, C, D. You thoroughly read your question. You're going down. So A, maybe, I kind of like it. B, maybe. C, maybe. D, no, I don't like that one. So get rid of D. Okay. Then I kind of go back the opposite way. C, that's still pretty good. B, nah, I don't think so after I read it again. And then A, maybe. So then I'm kind of going back and forth. Okay, C to A. And then I read all the little context clues, everything, dig through it, and then I decide. So that might be helpful for you too. When you get into your test, first thing, after you had your little mint gum and you did your little check-in thing, the other one thing you can do is, if you're allowed to have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, do what we call a brain drain. So you write everything out, that maybe a formula. Let's say it was a math test. So you write that formula that you worked really hard to memorize, write that thing out so that the test doesn't trick you later. So you're just going to write it out, write your formula, write those definitions, those hard ones from the last of your stack that took you forever to learn, write those down so you don't get confused later. If the wording is going to be funkified on the test, you don't want to get tricked, just write it down. Brain drain, just put it there. If you have certain, like I have to learn lab values, I can get really tricked by things within the test. So I write it down, so I just have it there and it's ready. It does take a little longer, but I feel like I can think more clearly instead of getting sucked into each question that might trick me again. It's less of a battle that way. So also on digital tests, it's important to know if you can go backwards in your test. So sometimes they only let you go forward, and you can't go back and change an answer. There are some advantages just to leaving it alone. And then there's some advantages if you find an answer, like a little clue in your test, you can go back and change it, thinking like, that test just gave me the answer. And that goes along with my last point. So I've heard this both ways. You can take it either way. But one is that tests are not your friend and they will try to trick you. Sometimes they are not your friend and they do try to trick you. And then other times they kind of accidentally give you a little clue. And so they could be friend or they could be foe, but just take it with a grain of salt, and know whether you can go back and change something if you need to. So those are all my best test taking tips. I hope you get all A's, straight A's, because you're so smart. But you know what else? B's get degrees, baby. So maybe even C's, depending on your program. But hang in there. It's going to be okay. You're learning tons. Sometimes it's fun to think about what you didn't know when you started the program and how much smarter you are now. So anyway, I'm proud of you. Hang in there. You got this. Just one foot in front of the other, inch by inch. It's a cinch. Take courage, Mama. You got this. All right? Take care. Bye.